Okay, so we're going to look at a basic figure 4 Americana from the mount position. Very basic technique. It is very useful for pain compliance. A couple of things to look in consideration is your ability to be able to control and pin our attacker's arm. We can use it too as well to apply the lock and use it as a pain compliance. So we can demand them to say, hey, calm down, I'll let go of the lock if you calm down. Also, we can use the technique obviously to complete destruct the actual shoulder girdle. Let's have a look at this one. Okay, let's break that down. We've achieved the mount situation, all right? If we're talking MMA in the street, how I can sort of set this technique up is I can start implementing strikes, get him to cover up. This is a really good opportunity because it exposes his elbow and his wrist, all right? Now, it really depends on how I actually set this technique up, okay? Because sometimes when we're wrestling in class, our opponent could be sort of more in prayer position. If, however, they have an arm that's on top, that would be the one that they're going to attack. Okay, so if Ant's got his left arm on top, that would be the one that'll go for. All right. So for self-defense, he's covering up here. As I throw the strikes, then now maybe what I could do is I could start the process of grabbing wrist and elbow. Then from here, I use my whole body weight, not my arms, but my whole body weight to force his arm to the mat. So here, I managed to collapse his arm. Don't forget too, we can also drop elbows as well, be as violent as possible. Once I get my attacker's arm to the mat, now I'm going to collapse my elbow next to my opponent's ear. From here, I like to use a hook on my reverse leg here. Reason being is because if Ant decides to try and buck me off, it's very, very difficult. If I don't have that hook as a handbrake, buck me off, Ant. Roll the position. Okay, so a very important detail is to make sure that we hook that far leg. So once I get the arm to the mat, I hook the far leg. All right. My other arm is going to be palm facing up. So here my palm is going to be facing up and it's going to insert underneath his elbow here. Now if he's striking me from here, I'm not too concerned about that. We've got to take in consideration adrenaline in the heat of the moment. You're not going to really feel this. The level of ability for him to forcefully inflict damage, it's not where nearly as much as if he'd be able to get his whole body into it. And don't forget, you're in a much dominant position as well, okay? So those punches or rabbit punches aren't really that effective, okay? So once I get the arm to the mat, I hook the other leg. My hand is going to be palm facing up. And then I'm going to lock and I'm going to achieve a figure 4 grip. So my arm is palm up, he's now going to face palm down. And I'm going to latch onto my own wrist. I have Ant's wrist here. What I can do now is I'm going to try and remove all the slack out of the joint to get it nice and tight. So the way I do that is I like to roll the wrist this way. That creates a lot of tension in the elbow as well. So I roll the wrist this way, and now from here, I use good hip placement. I thrust my hips down into his hips. My head is going to drop down onto my own wrist. To finish the lock, all I'm going to do is I'm going to drag his elbow down towards his hip as I lift and elevate his arm. So I drag down and I elevate his elbow, and while I'm doing that, I'm thinking about paintbrushing his hand that way. So here, head down, I start the process of bringing the elbow down, I elevate the arm, it's on already, okay? If you get this on really, really tight, it should come on very quickly, especially if your training partner has very tight shoulders. So let's have a look at that again. So we've achieved the mount position here. We implement strikes for self-defense, I get it to cover up. From here now, I can start the process of catching the wrist and the elbow. I use my whole body weight to force the arm to the mat, all right? Also take note too, okay, if our opponent doesn't roll, then we would go for the figure 4 Americana. If he does roll, however, but if he rolls, well, I can't do it now. I have to go to something else. Okay, so the technique generally works is if we manage to get the arm to the mat and our opponent doesn't roll. We could also be quick too. I could almost bring my body weight down and elbow him in the face at the same time as I collapse his arm. Now my foot comes behind the back of his leg as a hook here. My other hand, palm facing up, is going to come underneath the elbow and latch onto my own wrist. Now I'm going to get all the slack out of the joint. I'm going to turn the wrist that way. My head is going to come down. It's tight already, I feel it. My head's going to come down. Now I'm going to drag his elbow down towards my hip. As I elevate his elbow, I paintbrush his hand in that direction. And that one is the figure 4 Americana from Mount.